You want details? Fine. I drive a Ferrari 355 Cabriolet. What's up? I have a ridiculous house in the South Fork. I have every toy you can possibly imagine. And best of all, kids, I am liquid. So, now you know what's possible. Let me tell you what's required.
Before we get to life advice, maybe a little bit of a Tool recap. Saw Tool last night, Anaheim. One of the great live shows I've ever seen. A little bit of a tear back in the music scene a little bit between the jazz deal in New York City, a quick stop in Chicago to see Widespread, and Tool, which is a completely different experience. It's a little difficult to explain. I don't think you can talk it up too much because I think even somebody who casually likes their music or just loves good live music, if you say, hey, you're about to have like a 2.5 hour experience, it's going to be different than anything you've ever seen in music. I feel comfortable saying that because it's that good of a scene. Now, the crowd, probably not going to meet your wife there. I'll admit, there's moments where I saw a guy just absolutely rocking out to, whatever song, pick a song. And then he's got his girlfriend like holding his arm and he's screaming the lyrics to Opiate in her ear. And, then he couple finger cymbals up in the air, rocking, headbanging. And then after the song is over, they hug and kiss. And I was like, I don't think I could ever see myself doing that. Like, I would love if my girlfriend didn't want to go to Tool with me. But again, if you have that kind of relationship where you and your girlfriend, there's probably a lot of relationship scenarios that I observe where I go, I couldn't really see myself doing that. But hey, that's great. You guys found something you both are super interested in. The other way to describe it too, it's a bit like this music that just marches over you. It's just different. In a way, when they really start getting going, it kind of reminds me like of a movie from the future, and they would say like, hey, this is the dictator is coming to address everybody. And then this is the band that plays music while the dictator shows up to address his minions. It's that kind of power. It's a very powerful thing. And by the way, watching them play and Maynard sing, and he's kind of got a different approach to things. I can't imagine what it feels like 20 plus years doing this and having that kind of, not the ego part of it, which is obvious, but the power of just dominating a room and creating this sound that everybody is just completely hypnotized by. And then I started thinking about myself as a dictator, which was a weird 3-minute stretch. It could have just been the vaping around me, but I was like, would I be a good dictator? Can you be a dictator and like be open-minded about stuff? I was like, yeah, I think you could. You would just be like, hey, we're not doing that. That's a terrible idea. And that's it. There's no debate. Like, I think my instincts would be good. And then I was like, you know what, let's stop thinking about this. And yeah, that was Tool. So I know you guys have a few questions before we get to life advice.
Yeah. So Tool, I admittedly don't have like a huge catalog knowledge of their songs. I know like the main ones. I know Sober. I think Schism, right, is another pretty big one. But what I remember from Tool was like all the kids that were kind of like on that like weird goth, kind of weird fringe line in high school would always wear like Tool gear. So I was always like, oh, Tool must suck. And then you listen, and then you like grow up and you actually realize, hey, this is like kind of good music. It was like 9 Inch Nails for me. Like all the 9 Inch Nails kids wearing t-shirts, you're like, that's weird. Like that's a little too intense for me. And then in college, I started listening to Trent Reznor and 9 Inch Nails. And you're like, this music is incredible. What was I missing all these years? And Tool was kind of that way. But I don't know. Is it like hard rock? Like, because did I ever tell you guys I went to Ozfest in high school? And it was actually one of the best concerts I've ever been to in my life. And I'm not even like a big hard metal guy. So it's like a live music thing. It was, Ozzy wasn't there. It was System of Down, which was great. It was Disturbed, which was great. Lacuna Coil was there, which is like a smaller type band. And I absolutely loved it. But we're talking like concert with like 50-year-old women with no shirts on, painted boobs kind of thing. Like it was a weird vibe for a kid in high school. But I loved it. It was like one of the top 5 concerts I've ever been to. So I kind of feel like I'd love Tool. I just don't know. I don't know if that's the vibe or like what kind of vibe we're going for.
Ozfest trend's a little bit older than Tool does. And you're right. Like when I went to one of the Chicago shows, but it wasn't in the city for Tool, it was outside. And, it had some Breaking Bad vibes in that audience where I was like, whoa, what's going on over here? So yeah, I can get how you could stereotype the entire fan base by just any kind of experience. I remember the first time a kid came in back when I was in high school working at a CD shop, and he was like, "Do you have Tool?" And I was like, "Well, there's one in front of me." Like who's
Nice.
this guy, and what the hell is he talking about? But what you start to realize is that it is different. Like there's some of the metal hard rock stuff that I think is just terrible, and I won't have an open mind about it. But if you are into music in any way, like there's a part of you, like any of my friends that were late to it, and I go, no, just give it a chance. Don't judge people because you saw a kid, behind Cumberland Farms in a Tool t-shirt for 7 straight days. Like just it's a little different. It's a little different than that. So, are you Googling Ozfest, Kyle?
No, it sounds great though. Well, actually, it doesn't. Those were all kind of the bands that, like, I would have thought it would have been like Black Sabbath or something. It's Ozzy's thing, obviously, right?
No, it was in Connecticut. Like he goes to some of them. I think at that point, this was probably like 2005, 2006. And he would pick the big shows, and Connecticut wasn't the big show for him, so he wasn't there.
All those bands that you mentioned, like, did you say Nine Inch Nails, Disturbed?
Yeah.
That all just, it seemed
Disturbed is great.
It seemed that, I don't know, maybe it was just the cover art. I didn't never really listen to, like, all my friends listen to hip hop. That's just what it was. Like I listened to like some 70s rock, like in secret. Like if it wasn't on if it wasn't like a locker room approved rock song, guys were like, "What the fuck are you doing?" So I don't know. I never really like had the aha moments with any of these bands. I was just like, oh yeah, it's a weird album art, and I didn't like the first song I heard. So sorry, Nine Inch Nails, I'll never know you.
Yeah, I'm not surprised Rudy got into Nine Inch Nails because some of the soundtrack stuff he does alone is unbelievable. So he's incredible.
He did what was it? Social Network, which was one of my favorite scores and soundtracks ever. It's amazing.
I got to be honest. I don't know that a ton of guys drive around and listen to a score.
So I talked to Adnan about this. I think this is why he actually liked me, because I'd be like, I didn't like the movie, but damn, it sounded fucking awesome. I remember thinking that about the Superman movie, Man of Steel. I'm like, the movie sucked, but it sounded fucking sick. And Adnan's like, yes. So yeah, I'd imagine not a ton of people driving around listening to the Social Network score soundtrack, but it was great, and it was Trent Reznor.
One of my buddies used to work out to the first Sicario soundtrack, which I was like, wow, that's pretty intense. All right, let's get to it. Let's do a little life advice here. lifeadvicerr@gmail.com. Did I answer all the questions about Tool? I think we covered it, right? Because we've touched on it before. Yeah. So,
not finding love at a Tool concert, I guess. Noted.
No, and I'm not even judging the couples there. I just would see it and go, you guys really found each other. You guys really did. Okay. All right. Here we go. Oh, a female emailer. That's right. Recently, my boyfriend, I'm female. I don't know if that changes anything. We'll just, we'll try to be delicate. We'll try to handle this with a sensitivity that is not part of our chromosome makeup, right?
It definitely changes something for me.
Yeah, it does. Okay. All right. We've already made this awkward, so off to a terrific start here.
Has one girl on, can't figure out how to be cool.
The one email that we get from a female each month chimes in, and then we already fuck it up out of the chute. Because as I'm saying, it's like, wait, are you saying all women are sensitive? I'm like, no, I'm just fucking making fun of ourselves. So here we go. How about we start over? All right. Recently, my boyfriend, I'm female. Don't know if that changes anything. Too late. I've been dating him for 3.5 years. He told me that I gained weight. It's about 10 pounds. Fine. But he said it in the worst way possible by adding that he has stopped being attracted to me, and that while I am, quote, beautiful, I am not, quote, hot.
No,
come on. He's also made some mean comments here and there over the last few months. He's been pointing out hot women. Now I know why. He says he still loves me and isn't giving me an ultimatum, but that he wanted to tell me so that I could do something about it in order to fix the problem.
Holy shit.
He also mentioned that he has felt this way for a while now. I feel really upset and humiliated. I'm fine with losing weight and want to look good for him, but in my head, this is the person I want to be with forever. And it really worries me that his attraction to me can be hurt by something as dumb as 10 pounds. What happens when I have kids and my boobs sag, or I age like a normal human being? I've explained this to him, and he apologized for, quote, being an asshole, which I really appreciate. He's awesome about acknowledging how I feel and apologizing. Yeah, the problem is, how often is he apologizing for this stuff? But he obviously feels some type of way about my body. I've started my diet, but I just don't know how I can take off my clothes in front of him right now with feeling like he's judging me before I've lost the weight. It also creates this weird power dynamic, in my opinion, where he feels like he thinks he's hotter than me and can do better, although he says that's not true. So that's the way she feels. By the way, I hope any guy that's listening, and for whatever, all of our flaws can be in relationships, I've never understood the guy who talks down to the person that he says that he loves. If you're not trying to find a way to uplift the other person or make them feel better when things are down, even when you don't even have the right thing to say, that is your role in the relationship. It's not these men that are fucking insecure dickheads that have their own shit. And then they try to figure out, well, wait, if I can bring her down to my level, then maybe I'll have more control, more upper hand in the relationship. And if I can convince her that she can't do any better than me, then that'll give me the power in the relationship. I understand upper hand, not having the upper hand in the relationship. I've been on both sides of it, but for any of the guys out there that do that stuff, it's really, to hear her words and to read this, it's a really hurtful thing. And you could be oblivious to the pain that you're actually causing somebody, because if she's having all these thoughts run through her head and she's emailing this show, clearly it's been an issue. So as she said she started her diet. Feels like he thinks he's out of me. She said, although he says that's not true. Help. What do I do? I don't think he wants to, I don't think this warrants a breakup. I love him. I'm glad he was honest with me, but I feel pretty shitty about it in my body. What do I do? All right. I think some people are going to be like, hey, if he has this in his game, then it does warrant a breakup. It could be a problem. And look, to be fully, I think all of us, if we're being honest, all of us have a moment with the partner where there'd be a version of it where you would no longer be attracted to your partner. 10 pounds is the standard. I mean, who gives a shit? It's there's a million things going on, and people's weight fluctuate anyway. So you have nothing to worry about in that part of it. Really, you're asking, how do you handle this with this guy? I think I would be super direct about it. You're like, hey, there's times when we make mistakes and we can apologize to each other, but I'm not gonna sit here and feel like shit or be second guessing your long-term commitment to me because I put on a little weight coming out of winter and coming out of a pandemic. And his reaction to that would probably be the answer that you need about what it means for the long-term relationship. Like, don't be hesitant at all. Be super direct. Tell him how you exactly feel. Like, hey, just so you know, these are all the things that I ran through in my head. And by the way, I emailed a fucking sports podcast to try to get some answers on all of this stuff. And as much as I don't know, the debate of do we change, can we change as people? If he doesn't change this, because now you're talking about how he handles this out loud with you versus is there some lingering thing in his head where it's actually going to be a problem? Yeah, you're not going to have to answer the second part of that, but how he reacts to this, and if there's any pivot from some of this behavior that you don't feel great about, if there's no pivot at all, then you kind of have your answer. Because if you're going to sit there and say, well, I like everything else about him, but I have now all these insecurities because of the way he's talked about my body, that's not going to be, I mean, do you want to come home to that? Like, I always think about relationships this way. Do you come home and fucking dread it? Or do you come home and you're excited about it? And honestly, excited's probably a little too unrealistic at times. But do you come home? Maybe that could just be the standard. Do you come home and you regret it, or do you come home and it's like either neutral to happy?
Yeah, that sounds more realistic.
Yeah,
less fairy
neutral
tale.
to happy. Right. Because I've had situations where you just go like, I actually don't want to spend time. Like, why? What am I doing? This is somebody I don't want to spend time with. So, okay, fine. Like, I have my answer. So it sounds like you do want to spend time with this person and everything else. And honestly, her picture came through on the Gmail. Kyle, you're right. She's a keeper. So little ego boost for you on top of this, everything else, unless it's just an awesome picture. I don't know. But yeah, I wouldn't worry about this. But I know it's hard. And it's very simple for me as a guy to say, oh yeah, don't worry about it, whatever. But that's a pretty tough standard if he's getting on your case about putting on 10 pounds. But some guys are real weird and can be dicks about it. All right. I don't know. Kyle, anything else?
Just that, when I take the notes for this, just in case we say a name or say something we really shouldn't have, I always put like life advice #1, and then the little thing like life advice #1, guy at the speaker with a guy at the gym with a speaker. This one I just wrote life advice #1, boyfriend is mean. And I think that's what it comes down to. I think he might be a mean person. I'm not sure why. Like, there are some guys that do this. I don't think it's the old school way of being in a relationship. I don't know if those guys read like a chapter in the game and like tattooed on him or something and really take it seriously. But it's just, that's not how most people operate. And I mean, most guys would have the sense to, even if like, you know, maybe you put on 40 pounds and it is bothering him, there's just you don't do that. Like, there's just like, you know, there's definitely ways to like make it about us and we're going to get healthier or whatever, just to be like, I'm not attracted to you anymore because you're, you know, heavier than you were when we started dating. That's just, I mean, I guess it's good that no, it's not good, but like, he's being direct, but it just means he's not thinking. He's not thinking. So I think you should probably leave him. Maybe cheat on him. I'm kidding. Just leave him.
Well, you do have her email now, Kyle, so who knows?
We'll talk.
What's up?
Look out.
I think everything Kyle said was right. And it is important to be honest in relationships though. Like if you know, be honest about your feelings. Like if you are feeling a certain way, let the other person know. And honestly, in the case of like weight or appearance, or even just like, you know, if you're slipping, if you're being lazy or something at work and your significant other notices that, I would want my significant other to call me on that stuff. And I think we do in my relationship with my wife, Maddie. But Kyle hit it on the nail on the head. That like there's a line between being honest and keeping someone in check and just being fucking a dick and being mean. And I think, you know, I kind of understood, okay, like maybe he wants the best for her and he's trying to say, hey, like, you know, maybe you're slipping a little bit. I just want to let you know. But like the thing that kind of flipped me to like this guy's kind of a tool is he's sitting there talking about how other girls are hot, like in front of you. Like that to me, that's not helping the situation. That's just him being a dick right into your face. So while I understand like in relationship that you have to be honest, and I think that's healthy, there's a very fine line between being a dick and being honest and trying to, you know, prop up your partner. I don't think that's what he's doing to you. And I'm not going to sit here and tell you to break up with him, but there's a lot of shit I feel like that you guys got to work out if that's the case. If he's so comfortable going to you and being that mean to you.
Yeah, because you're in a relation, like, you know, The Bachelor's on sometimes in my in the background of my house. I'm doing a puzzle or something. She's watching The Bachelor, or I can't even remember if that's the show. But sometimes like girls are just like, it's very important, or guys even, it's like, you know, it's very important. Like bodies, we have to be, you know, bodies are really important to me. But like, yeah, that's when you're starting out. But if you're, you know, 3 years into a relationship, that's now your problem, guy. It's not necessarily, it's your problem to deal with it, not to just make it her problem and then walk away. Like hope you don't cry for the rest of your life. Like now it's your problem. If being physically attractive is important, and I think it is all important, but like in the beginning, you get to like, you know, you get to decide what you're going to do. But now you're 3 years in a relationship. If you want to stay with her, it's not just, you don't just lay that at her feet. Like you got to worry about it, pal. Like it's not like you can't just say, yeah, I'm not into this anymore, really, but still love you. And like, you know, see you for dinner. You can't just like lay that at her feet. That's something you're going to have to deal with. It sounds like he hasn't even really dealt with it. He just kind of said it and walked away. So that's just a red flag.
Were you ever mean to your girlfriends, Kyle?
No, I don't think so. No, you know, I've said some stuff in a fight that I was like, wow, I could be good at this if I wanted to, but I'm sorry. I'm really sorry about that. I won't say that again. But
You're just quick. You had the takes. You're ready to go.
I was always the uglier one in the relationship too. Like, you know, dude, I date eight to tens. I was always the uglier one.
8 to 10s, Poughkeepsie 10s, Kyle.
Hey, man, I haven't had a ton of girlfriends. I pick and choose them, and sometimes they've been absolutely awful because of the personality part of it. But you know, the last 4 girlfriends have been pretty and awesome. They've been pretty awesome, if I say so myself. So, but I've always been the uglier one.
Kyle's
So
killing it.
I've never been the one who had to like say anything or even thought about saying anything.
Has anyone asked you to shave off a few lbs?
No, actually, no. I think I'd probably make a joke about myself. Or like, no, what are you talking about? It's like, oh, good, great. I'm glad I could continue being me.
I mean, look, we had Willie Colon on a couple of weeks ago, and he said he weighed 436. Was that the number?
Something big.
And then he asked his wife, and his wife's like, I don't know, you still look sexy to me, you know. And Willie Colon's obviously a huge guy. He's going to carry 436, perhaps a little differently than most of us would, but still 436 is fucking huge. I think there's also like a part of this conversation where guys are just going, hey, there's still a number. But I don't think any of this equates to the email. We're talking about 10 pounds. And the more I think about it, we're talking about a boyfriend that said, you're not hot. Now, the thing is like, if I am anything, I am a pragmatist. Okay. If anybody had to describe me in my whole way of looking at things, be like, you know what? First and foremost, he's just a pragmatist about everything. Like if I had daughters and one came home and was crying because she said that she's not pretty enough, and then I'd say, whatever, through the eyes of caring about your daughter, you would see it in the lens would be skewed. But I feel like I'd be going, well, you're not the prettiest girl in your class, Stacy. I don't know if my daughter would be named Stacy, but I think I'd just be, because if you were your girlfriend, I mean, it's the same thing as somebody saying like Ja Morant, and I'd go, he's awesome, but he's not the best point guard in the NBA. Like, let's not lose our minds about this right now. So
You're not
don't
negative.
think,
You're a realist.
yeah, I don't think I would have a girlfriend ever say like, hey, am I the hottest girl you've ever seen? And I would go, well, that's ridiculous. There's 3 billion people on your side of things, 3+ billion.
I think it's fun to say yes to that question. Be like, now what? Yeah, you are. What else?
I couldn't do it. It's like going on First Take and making up shit. I couldn't sit there in a relationship and go, you are the single hottest person I've ever seen in my entire life. Because I'd be like, well, now I lie. So why would I do that? But he wasn't asked the question. He wasn't posed any of these things. He went out of his way to say, hey, you're not hot. You're beautiful, but you're not hot. That's grounds for like going in another direction, honestly. So
did they say an age? Did she say an age of either of them or no?
She didn't do the stats. She didn't do
64.
I'd just be interested if this was like somebody in their like early 20s or somebody in their like 30s. I don't know. Because I think
look, I'm telling you, her picture, she's really cute. I don't, I'm not trying to. She's young. She looks like she's in her 20s. I don't know. There you go. She shouldn't.
I'd say have the hard talk and keep your options open.
I'd say see if guys think you're hot. See what happens.
I think this guy sucks. I think he sucks. And then who knows? I mean, what are we supposed to do here? Because like, what would we do? What if the email had a picture and she was attached? You're like, oh my God. And then you'd be like, hey, just write it out. All right. I think we've covered this from every realistic possibility that we could. Okay, Mr. Relationship over here helping everybody out one email at a time. This is about an engagement ring, which I do actually have some experience in. All right, here we go. 31, male, living in Northern California. Plan on popping the question next fall to my girlfriend of about 4 years. My main goal of the proposal is the main goal of the proposal is to have it be a complete surprise. And because of that, I'm having somewhat of a difficult time figuring out what to do about the engagement ring. The topic came up randomly a few weeks ago, and she was talking about how she has no idea what she would even want whenever that time came. A diamond, alternative stone, something completely unique, basically no clue at all. Basically, her point was that she wouldn't know until she shopped around to get an idea of exactly what she wanted. Totally fine, but that severely limits what I would be comfortable picking out. I know the common thing people do is go pick out a ring together before the engagement. I hate that idea because it just feels weird to go buy a ring and then say, all right, now I'll wait for your proposal. Wink, wink. I'm sure someone would suggest just go shopping, but main goal for me is to be a surprise. So that's out of the question. Here's a couple scenarios I thought of where I would want all of your guys' advice. Do I get a fake ring that's super cheap, but still looks real enough to pass in photos for the time being? No.
Absolutely not. Yeah.
Absolutely not. Because she's going to have a fake ring, and then it's 2 weeks later, and she's like, hey, I'm engaged, and every fucking person, well, female, is going to say, let me see the ring. And then their first impression of the ring is going to be something she's not wearing or whatever. So that's out. Do I have her sister's friends try to sneakily get a better idea of what she wants and take a stab at getting something she might like, and then make sure I'm getting info from a place that will allow, or getting the ring from a place that will allow an exchange if she ends up hating it? I've seen this as a recommended option, so it seems like it's a common thing. Okay. He also said, I love you. Very
okay.
Yeah. All right. What to do here? Okay. Think of it, first of all, this way. All right. Imagine if the tradition was if women had to buy us fancy watches. All right. If they had to get us Rolexes. Good luck right now. Secondary market. Okay. I mean, just imagine if the women listening to this, if in your 20s and you're with a guy that you really liked and it's been 2 or 3 years and you know he's the one, but tradition says that you have to spend like $20,000 on a Rolex. And oh, by the way, make it a fucking surprise. And if it wasn't a Rolex, maybe it's an AP, maybe it's a higher end Panerai. Maybe it's something
not
where
a Fossil.
It's no disrespect to any of the Fossil line or
had
Diesel.
many a Fossil watch growing up.
Yeah, but
Citizen.
It just tradition says this has to sting a little bit financially, and you have to stress about how are you going to pay for this again, Rolex is vary in price, but secondary market, everything's nuts. So let's say 20 grand for a decent one. Oh, and by the way, and this is for the guys, she buys you that watch and you're like, ugh, she got the yellow gold two-tone. Like, what is this? What are we under 40 millimeters on this? Like, what is this? Okay. And then you're supposed to wear it and be psyched all the time. You wouldn't be. There'd always be this lingering thing if you didn't exactly get what you want. So I still think the most important thing is, like you were saying here, figuring out a way to get the thing she wants, but you still want to make it a surprise. So I've thought about this email. I've thought about it. Because, I've had some experience with this, both having the ring and then also not having it. I think there's a way to do this. Okay. You said that she has, didn't he say friends and sisters in here?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So that's good. You're going to marry somebody who has friends. It's a different email topic we'll get into maybe some other time. But I thought this out. All right, here's the plan. So whether it's the sisters, whether it's the friends, get yourself in a group situation where you end up at a mall, but a higher end mall. All right, maybe there's a Tiffany's or something like that. Okay, and you have one of the girls who's her friend. Okay, you and her have already talked, and the plan is this. And don't take too long with this because there's always a couple bad actors in the group. So maybe keeping the group smaller is better because there's always going to be somebody that's just bad at this shit. They get weird and they have anxiety. I remember like pledging and the brothers would be lying to us about something. And then everybody always wanted to be involved in the thing that they were lying to us about. And then the more people, more ingredients you threw in the fucking pot, there'd be a couple guys who'd be like, wait, none of this is real. This guy's the worst actor I've ever seen. This is bullshit. So, all right, that part is important because you got to have some people you can trust here. If one of them is single, I think you're at the counter, you pretend you're having a miserable time. They're like, let's just go into Tiffany's, whatever. We just want to be in there. Maybe she has a return, or maybe she's going to have something where she's like, hey, can I get this serviced or whatever? And then you slowly kind of magically mosey over to some of the engagement rings. You start looking at them. And it actually could be a cool moment for you and your future wife where you're looking at each other because clearly you've been together 4 years. You've talked about being together. You're looking at her. She's looking at you. And you're just like, yeah, whatever. Like, look at him. I don't care. Maybe I'll just go to the other room. Like, and it's not you being dismissive of getting engaged, but now she is looking at stuff with her friend, all right, in a way that seems completely
organic.
Exactly, Kyle. Perfect. A very organic setting where it kind of happened, even though it's a bit more choreographed than that. All right. And in that time, the friends, the sisters, whoever, a couple of the other girls, they start getting an eye of what she likes. Now, I'm not saying then you have to go back 2 days later and ruin your down payment on a house at Tiffany's, which is always a nice part of the tradition. It's like, hey, do you want somewhere to live? No, my friend has a hot ring and I want to also have an awesome ring. It's like, okay, cool. We're going to rent for 5 more years. Like, this fucking tradition's awesome.
Just tell your dad to get ready with that wedding payment.
Right. So I think there is a way to do this. But you just have to have people that you can trust in the mix other than just saying, all right, this feels probably elaborate to some, other than just saying, hey, to her friend, can you go and shop for rings with her out of nowhere? Because if that happens, or maybe she can pull hey, we ended up going to Tiffany's because I went to get something serviced, a bracelet or whatever. And, or just any jeweler. I mean, it doesn't have to be there, but there can be a way that you could do this, whether you're a part of it or not a part of it. I know people are going to argue about that whole thing. I'm just telling you, there's a way to do it without it being so obvious where her friend is saying, hey, let's go to the local jewelers and see what you would like for engagement rings, because then that's going to detract, I should say, from the surprise element that you are so determined to pull off, which I also kind of respect that you're trying to figure out that element, I guess.
Yeah, I respect that too. I always thought like I've ruined every Christmas gift for a significant other for the last 2-3 years. Well, it's only been one person, so yeah, I've ruined it for like every year. I'm always like, I got you the Dyson thing. I hope you like it. Which I've heard.
You got your girlfriend a vacuum in your 20s?
No. First of all, I got the vacuum. That was a while ago, but I heard that the Dyson hair products are like the PS5 for girls, and they all agree.
Yes.
Okay.
Look at you, Kyle. You're right.
Yeah.
That's right. Because as I said it out loud, I'm like, wait, he's probably talking about the hair dryer.
Yeah.
So
they all
that's
agree.
on me.
So I've ruined the stuff for 3 years, and I'm fine with it. But I always thought the real surprise was where you do it. Like, don't you want to catch her off guard on the actual question? Like, so what if she knows that she can't have the ring until you give it to her? So who gives a fuck if she knows what it looks like? I can see why you care about that, but I think the way if this is Mission Impossible and we're really trying to keep this thing under wraps, I think that's the way that you do it. Ryan's thing is spot on. I thought maybe, there's a girl who's like way more her friend than she would ever be to keeping your secret and be like, oh my God, he wants me to help him. Just tell me what you want. Like, there's always a chance that you pick the wrong person and she's just like, oh my God, he's asking me to find the ring. So why don't you just tell me the ring you want and I'll make sure. Like, she's acting like she's doing you a favor, but she's actually more of on her side.
No,
where
great
she's just
point.
like,
Great addition.
the jig is up.
Yep.
But I think either way it's fine because you still are in the position. You still have all the control as to creating the scenario where you actually want to offer her the ring. So I think that's probably the bigger part. But again, not married, so Rudy, you probably should have gone first.
Yeah, I mean, I'll tell you what I did. Basically, Maddie and I went to this
Sky
place in
Mall.
Boston. Sky Mall. Yep, we went to.
No, I'm just
the
thinking
corner
like how
kiosk. Yeah.
how realistic you would have been. You'd be like, okay, let's pick something out. I'm not talking about the money element of it. Just
No.
Go ahead. Sorry.
My words of advice would be, I didn't hear anything about what she wanted. All you said was that she didn't know what she wanted in a ring, right? He didn't say how she wanted to figure that out. So you should probably put some feelers out there about whether or not she wants to go ring shopping or not, because I know it isn't like the amazing ring surprise that everybody wants, but it's the most practical way to do it. And the way that we did it was kind of cool because you go to this place. It's an awesome place in Boston. I won't give them any pub, but it's hit me up, DM me if you really want to know. And you look at a bunch of different settings, a bunch of different things, and you basically make a list of like things that she likes, right? She didn't tell me exactly the ring that she wanted, but she's like, oh, I like the rose gold, or I like this setting, I like this I like these couple styles of rocks. And then what you do is you buy the ring and you buy the diamond separate. They put it together and they mail it to you. So you're basically building this ring. So I felt like I had some say. It's basically Build-A-Bear for rings. Exactly.
Girls love Build-A-Bear.
And Kyle's right. It really is more about the setting, I think, than it is the ring. Like, and here's the thing: if she doesn't like the ring, and you just because you wanted to go wild card and do this thing organically, that's gonna be a bummer. Like, it's gonna be a pretty big bummer when she looks at it. It's like, oh my God, you got me an oval ring. Like, why would you? Why? She's never gonna say that, but you'll see the disappointment in her face, and it's gonna kind of ruin the moment. So I would ask her if she wants to go ring shopping first, because again, it's not all about you in the situation. I know that you have your plan, you want to do this, but the surprise is what Kyle said, the timing of it, where you do it, getting her family and friends involved, like the Instagram post afterwards. All that stuff is still really cool, even if you don't completely pick out the ring 100% by yourself.
See, I knew you were going to be so practical about it. This guy cares about the surprise, so we can't lose focus of what the email is. He cares about the surprise. Now, when he said, I don't know if I go non-traditional or something else, I would just get rid of all that stuff, because I still think the diamond that, is done right is going to be the winner in all of this, because unless you better get total clearance from somebody who's like, actually, she doesn't want a diamond. She wants to go non-traditional stone. She wants something completely
She wants
different.
a black wedding ring too.
Right. Yeah. So that, I don't know what to do with you on that one. And yeah, I agree, Cerruti. I just knew that you and your wife would be super practical about it, not worry about the surprise. But this guy wants to pull off the surprise, so he's going to have to figure out some moves here on the chessboard.
I just think about your scenario. I'm like, when is the last time 4 or 5 people went to a mall together? It seems sketchy to me to begin with. You know what I mean? I don't think there's any way to do this sort of naturally. Other than, why don't you just ask her just because you ask her a couple questions about what she might like doesn't mean that she knows what ring you're buying her. It's like when you're talking about wedding dresses and stuff, and you're like, oh, is it poofy or is it not poofy? You can give a couple details and still be surprised by what the bride looks like. So I would say it's okay to ask her a couple of questions and then make the guess from there. But don't go in blind. Just don't do that, because it's a terrible idea.
You don't think people go to the mall anymore?
I don't. No.
I think it matters where you live, probably.
As
if the mall's
groups of people,
upper echelon, maybe though. I don't know.
Can me a fucking mall run?
I know you and Bushman, you loved your mall trips back in the day.
Well, we were in West Harvard. We didn't have a lot of options. We get to the point where Bushman and I were going to the mall and not doing it. We
mall
would be
rats, dude.
You just want to go to the mall? Be like, yeah, let's go. We walk around. I'd already bought every sneaker I could have possibly bought. There was nothing at Nordstrom for me anymore. That Nordstrom didn't do it for me. Although Hunish Jeweler, there you go. Ask them. There's a little shout out to those guys.
Yeah.
So they're back in Boston and in Connecticut
And New York.
But hey, look at this,
Poughkeepsie
Look at
Galleria.
this. All right, so we're giving them. I'm pretty sure.
All right, here's the deal. You're going to
the.
the Poughkeepsie Galleria melting pot. Just kidding, it's closed. But just there might be a fun, exciting restaurant that you could be like.
Why not a cheesecake? You can't do a cheesecake thing and then kind of mosey over and be like, oh, I have to return something, and then it's one or two of her friends, and then you kind of I don't know what your acting chops are, but you could be like, oh my god, you guys are looking at rings. Okay, ladies, take it easy.
Right.
And then, you get a little info from them after they do a little window shopping, and the ruse is over. And then it can be a great story. You can tell at your rehearsal.
Yeah, somebody will tell
Friday.
that story for sure.
Yeah. Like, remember when we went ring shopping? You didn't know you were going ring shopping? And then some other guy will be like, are these the only memories they have? So I don't know, man. All right. I don't know if we did anything well today. The Tool recap was good.
No, I think we did a good outside of the awkwardness of the intro to the first email. I think the first email we gave some good advice there.
Yeah, look, I've been doing this a long time. It still throws us off because when we get a female question, it's like we just don't want to come off as
We just all
jerks.
froze up.
Yeah, we clearly
Be cool.
Yeah, relax, dude. Relax. All right. We'll be back on Friday, and I'm not 100%. We get a couple feelers out, but today was a lot of fun. I cannot emphasize how great that Wu-Tang book is. So I hope you enjoyed that interview as well. Talk to you Friday.